Olivia stood at the massive iron gate, her fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the strap of her faded leather bag over her shoulder. The mansion in front of her looked nothing like the places she'd worked before. Tall glass windows, a driveway wide enough to park cars like a dealership, and a lawn trimmed so perfectly it almost looked fake. She swallowed hard, took a slow breath, then pressed the doorbell, hoping this time maybe life would finally give her something that wouldn't fall apart. A maid opened the door, looking her up and down like she was scanning a grocery barcode. Olivia gave a small, polite smile and lifted her notebook, writing quickly with neat handwriting. "I'm here about the nanny position." The maid frowned, then rolled her eyes. "Oh, right. You're the quiet one." Even though the comment stung, Olivia nodded calmly, her expression unreadable. She had learned a long time ago that reacting only made things worse. The maid led her inside, heels clicking sharply against the marble floors. The house smelled like expensive candles and lemon cleaning spray, and everything was spotless, like no child had ever touched it. "Mr. Cole will see you in a minute," the maid muttered before disappearing. Olivia waited in the grand foyer, taking in the towering staircase and framed family photos on the wall. Most showed a handsome man and a little boy smiling, but every picture, including a woman, felt different. The woman's smile was soft, but something about the pain in her eyes made Olivia's chest tighten. Loss had a way of creating its own kind of silence, one she recognized far too well. A deep voice suddenly broke the quiet. "You must be Olivia." She turned and saw Ethan Cole, tall, well-dressed, mid-30s, with tired eyes that didn't match his confident posture. He wasn't the kind of man who needed to say he was important. Everything about him already did. Olivia nodded, offering a small smile. She opened her notebook again and wrote, "Thank you for meeting with me." Ethan glanced at the words, then at her, curiosity flickering across his face. "I was told you don't talk much," he said gently. "Not rude, just straightforward. Is that something medical or a preference?" Her throat tightened. She paused, then slowly wrote, "I can talk, I just don't, not often." He didn't press. Instead, he motioned toward a nearby living room. "Well, let's see how you do with Max." That name carried weight. The same little boy from the photos. Ethan opened the door, revealing a room full of toys, yet untouched, almost arranged like decor. In the corner, curled up on a beanbag chair with a small dinosaur toy in his hand, sat a little boy with chestnut, hair and big brown eyes lost somewhere, far away inside his thoughts. "Max," Ethan said softly, kneeling beside him. "This is Olivia. She might help take care of you." Max didn't look up. Max didn't look up. Ethan exhaled slowly, the exhaustion in that breath saying more than words ever could. Olivia crouched down beside the boy, not too close, not invading, just present. She gently placed her notebook in her lap and took out a small folded piece of paper. She unfolded it to reveal a hand-sketched dinosaur, cute, silly, wearing sunglasses. Max's eyes flicked toward it. Not big, not dramatic, just a tiny spark. And for someone who hadn't spoken a word since his mother died, that spark meant everything. Olivia smiled, not overly excited, just soft and warm, then slid the drawing toward him. Max hesitated, then reached out and took it. Ethan swallowed hard, eyes widening with the smallest hint of hope. "We've interviewed 6 people," he said quietly. He didn't look at any of them. Olivia didn't respond. She just sat there beside Max while he traced the drawing with his finger. No pressure, no rush, just silence. But this time it wasn't the kind that hurt. It was the kind that healed. After a long moment, Ethan stood and whispered, almost more to himself than to her, "I think you're exactly what he needs." Olivia finally lifted her eyes to him, and for the first time since she walked through that gate, her fear softened, even if just a little. Because somehow, without speaking a single word, she had finally been heard. Olivia woke up the next morning before the sun even finished rising. She stood quietly in the guest bathroom, fixing her hair in the small mirror, making sure she looked presentable. She didn't wear heavy makeup, just a soft layer of foundation and a simple lip balm. Her reflection stared back at her, calm, silent, and determined. She knew she had accepted this job because she needed it, but deep down, a small part of her also hoped this. Family might be kinder than the world she'd faced so far. When she walked into the living room, Mr. Bennett was already there, sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee. He glanced up and nodded politely, and Olivia gave a small smile back before signing with her hands. Good morning. Even though she knew he didn't understand sign language, she still greeted people, because losing her voice never meant losing her manners. A few minutes later, little Emma came running down the stairs in her tiny unicorn pajamas, hair messy and eyes half open. She didn't care that Olivia couldn't speak. Kids didn't judge like adults, and without hesitation, she jumped straight into Olivia's arms as if the connection between them had always existed. Olivia hugged her softly and spun her around, making the little girl giggle, which was a sound bright enough to warm any cold room, while Olivia prepared Emma's breakfast and soft, scrambled eggs shaped into a smiley face. Voices drifted from the hallway. Mrs. Bennett had finally come downstairs, looking flawless, dressed like someone who always expected cameras to appear around her. She glanced at the kitchen, then at Olivia. Then she spoke in a tone that sounded sweet on the outside but sharp underneath. So you're the new nanny everyone's talking about. Olivia nodded politely while stirring the small pan of eggs. Mrs. Bennett gave a tight smile before adding, well, just so you know, this isn't charity. We expect perfection. Silence or not, this job is real. The words weren't loud, but they carried a sting. Olivia lowered her gaze and continued cooking, acting unbothered, even though she felt something inside her sink just a little. After breakfast, while Olivia took Emma outside to play, she overheard something, not meant for her, but loud enough that the universe wanted her to hear. Mrs. Bennett was talking to someone on the phone. No, she can't talk. Yes, totally mute. Honestly, I only hired her because she was cheap. And trust me, she looks harmless. Someone like her won't be a problem. Those last words stayed in the air longer than they should. Have, harmless, cheap, someone like her. The world had used those labels before. She was used to it, but it still hurt. Instead of reacting, Olivia kneeled down and played with Emma in the garden, letting the sunlight hit her face as she forced her heart to stay steady. Emma hugged her without needing a reason and whispered, "You're my favorite." Olivia closed her eyes for a second, letting the words wrap around her like soft fabric. Children saw what adults couldn't. Later that afternoon, the Bennett family had a small gathering. Some friends, co-workers, and a few people Olivia had never seen before. She stayed in the background, helping Emma with snacks and juice, doing her job like a professional. But as soon as the adults found out she couldn't speak, the whispering started. Wait, she's mute? Oh my God, how does she even work? Does she understand English? Maybe she can't afford therapy. She must have done something dumb to lose her voice? Each comment hit her like a tap on an old bruise. One guest finally approached her, waving a hand in front of her face slowly, as if she were a broken robot. Can you even hear me? Olivia forced a patient smile and nodded, signing politely that she could understand perfectly. She just couldn't speak. Instead of apologizing, the woman laughed and turned back to the group. Aw, she's kind of adorable. Like a pet dog that understands tricks but can't talk. Everyone laughed. Everyone except one person. Mr. Bennett had just stepped into the doorway, coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips, staring at the scene with a look Olivia couldn't read. Confusion, shock, maybe even anger. Olivia quickly looked away, pretending she didn't care, pretending her heart wasn't tightening. But deep inside, that moment created the first crack in the picture-perfect Bennett family facade, a crack Mr. Bennett had finally noticed. For the next couple of days, Olivia kept her head down and focused strictly on her job. She cooked meals, packed snacks, read bedtime stories through gestures and drawings, braided Emma's hair every morning, and made sure the little girl always felt heard, even if Olivia herself wasn't. The more time passed, the more Mr. Bennett started noticing things he somehow missed before. He noticed how Olivia never once complained, even when she worked longer hours than she was supposed to. He noticed how gently she communicated with Emma, even without using a single spoken word. And he noticed how she kept her distance from adults, not because she was cold, but because adults had never been kind to her. One morning, while Olivia was helping Emma put on her shoes before school, Mrs. Bennett walked into the room holding her phone like it was part of her hand. She didn't even bother greeting anyone before saying, "Oh, good. You're here. We have a dinner event tonight. You'll watch Emma. Shouldn't be hard since you don't talk much." She smirked like she said something clever. Mr. Bennett looked up from his laptop and said calmly but firmly, "Claire, that was unnecessary." Mrs. Bennett rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, I'm joking." But Olivia wasn't laughing. Later that day, when Emma was taking a nap, Mr. Bennett walked into the playroom. Olivia was sitting on the floor, organizing toys with surprising precision, lining up books, folding tiny clothes, placing stuffed animals in perfect rows. Everything she touched looked intentional. He sat down a few feet away from her and spoke gently, like he wasn't sure if approaching her was the right move. "Olivia!" She paused but didn't look up. "I'm sorry about what happened the other night." "And earlier today?" She froze for a second, then lifted her eyes. She wasn't expecting an apology. Definitely not from someone like him. He continued, "People can be cruel when they don't understand something. Or someone." Olivia slowly lifted her hands and signed, "It's okay." But her eyes said, "It's not. I'm just used to it." Mr. Bennett watched her hands move with grace, curiosity forming behind his expression. "You know, I've been meaning to ask, is sign language something you learned after, or did you grow up using it?" Olivia took a slow breath. Her fingers began signing again, slower this time, like the sentence was heavier. "I wasn't born mute, I lost my voice after an accident." Mr. Bennett didn't interrupt her. He just listened, really listened, the way most people never did. "Doctor said maybe it'll return, maybe not. So I just learned to live with silence." There was no self-pity in her expression, only acceptance. Mr. Bennett sighed softly. "You know, losing your voice doesn't make you less. If anything, it just means the world lost something valuable." Olivia blinked, stunned. No one had ever said that to her. Before she could react, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Mrs. Bennett entered again, her tone sharp like she was ready to snap. "There you are, Olivia. The laundry isn't done. And don't forget to iron everything. No wrinkles." She didn't even notice the emotional moment she'd shattered. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. After she left, Mr. Bennett whispered under his breath, "Unbelievable." Olivia forced a small smile, because arguing with people like Claire never changed anything. That evening, while the Bennetts were getting ready for their dinner event, Olivia helped Emma choose pajamas and read her a bedtime story through drawings. She didn't need words to make the little girl dream. Imagination didn't require sound. Once Emma finally fell asleep, Olivia quietly cleaned the kitchen, folded towels, rearranged pillows, and picked up toys left in the hallway. She worked until the house felt peaceful again. Around midnight, the front door opened. Mrs. Bennett stumbled in first, heels in one hand, irritation written all over her face. "Oh, great. You're still awake. Good, take my bag." She tossed her expensive purse toward Olivia like she was throwing away trash. Olivia caught it, barely. Then came the words that shifted everything. "You know, sometimes I forget you're even here. Because you don't talk. And honestly, life would be easier if more people were like you, are silent and obedient." Before Olivia could look away, Mr. Bennett stepped forward, voice cold enough to freeze the air. "Claire, stop talking." His tone wasn't loud, but it hit harder than yelling. Mrs. Bennett turned, offended. "What is your problem?" "My problem is the way you treat people." Mrs. Bennett scoffed. "She's not a guest. She's staff." "No," he said firmly. "She's a human being." The room fell silent, the kind of silence that wasn't peaceful. Mrs. Bennett grabbed her purse back, muttering under her breath, "You're being dramatic." She stormed upstairs, leaving her husband and Olivia standing in the hallway. Mr. Bennett looked at Olivia, apology written across his face without needing words. "You shouldn't have to deal with that," he said quietly. Olivia nodded, then signed one simple sentence. "I'm used to it." He shook his head. "Well, you shouldn't be." And in that moment, something shifted. Respect. Awareness. Maybe something deeper neither of them was ready to admit. But one thing was certain. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was power. And people were finally starting to see it. The next morning, the house felt different. It wasn't loud or chaotic like usual. Instead, there was this strange tension in the air, like the walls themselves remembered the argument from the night before. Olivia moved quietly through the kitchen, preparing breakfast for Emma, keeping her mind focused on work. She whisked eggs slowly, letting the repetitive motion distract her. She wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of being treated like she was invisible. Tired of pretending words didn't hurt simply because she couldn't speak them. As she plated Emma's food, she felt someone enter the room. She turned, expecting Emma's cheerful little face, but instead, it was Mrs. Bennett. Claire stood there with her arms crossed, eyes narrowed like she was staring at a problem instead of a person. "So," Claire said, voice cold, "I don't appreciate being embarrassed in my own house." Olivia blinked slowly, steady and composed. Claire stepped closer, lowering her voice. "And just so we're clear, my husband defending you doesn't mean you're special. You're just someone doing a job. A replaceable job." Before Olivia could react, tiny footsteps ran into the room. Emma rushed over and wrapped her arms around Olivia's legs. "Good morning, Liv," the little girl chirped, completely unaware of the storm brewing. Olivia instantly softened, kneeling down to hug her. Claire glared. Like the bond between her daughter and the nanny bothered her more than anything else. Without another word, Claire walked out. Later that day, as Olivia packed Emma's backpack for school, Mr. Bennett approached her cautiously, like he wasn't sure if he was crossing a line. "Can we talk for a second?" Olivia nodded. He motioned toward the dining table, and both sat down. For a moment, neither spoke or signed. Then finally he said, "Last night, I wasn't defending you just because it was the right thing. I was defending you because I've noticed how much you do, how much you care, and how much this household depends on you." Olivia's expression softened, surprised by the sincerity in his tone. "You don't deserve to be treated as less," he continued. "Not by my wife, not by anyone." She lifted her hands, signing slowly. "Thank you, but I don't need pity." He shook his head. "It's not pity. It's respect." Before either could say anything else, Emma called from across the room. "Mommy said someone's coming over later." "Someone important." Mr. Bennett frowned. "That's news to me." A few hours later, Olivia learned who that important someone was. A sharply dressed woman arrived, clipboard in hand, expression stiff and judgmental. She walked through the doorway, inspecting everything like she was evaluating a crime scene. Claire followed behind proudly. "This is the agency supervisor," she announced. "She's here to review the nanny's performance." Olivia froze. Claire smirked. "Since someone in this house thinks you're some kind of miracle, I figured we should prove whether you're actually qualified." The supervisor stepped closer and said, "So you're Olivia, the mute nanny?" Olivia nodded, keeping her posture calm even though her heartbeat quickened. The supervisor flipped a page on her clipboard. "According to protocol, nannies must be capable of verbal emergency communication. That includes calling 911, speaking to parents, or alerting medical staff if needed." Claire folded her arms like she had already won. "In other words," the supervisor added, "your inability to speak may violate regulation." Emma, hearing enough to understand something was wrong, rushed to Olivia and clung to her hand. "Don't take her," she cried. "I don't want a different nanny." The supervisor knelt, trying to soften her tone. "Sweetheart, sometimes adults—" Emma interrupted, tears falling. "No, she listens to me. She understands me better than anyone." Mrs. Bennett rolled her eyes. "She's overly attached. It's unhealthy." Mr. Bennett stepped forward then, eyes sharp. "Enough." His voice cut through the room like glass. He walked toward the supervisor. "You're basing her job qualification on her ability to speak, not her ability to care, educate, or protect my daughter." The supervisor hesitated. "Sir, protocol exists for safety, and she has kept our daughter safe," he argued. "She has cared for her emotionally, mentally, and physically. Not every nanny could earn Emma's trust the way she has." Silence hovered, thick and electric. Then, unexpectedly, Olivia stood and gently signed, "I can use technology for emergencies. I have software on my phone. I can type faster than most people speak. I am capable, just different." Her hands moved with confidence, not fear. Emma tugged her sleeve and whispered, "Show them, Liv." Olivia nodded. She pulled out her phone, opened a text-to-speech app, and typed, "Hi, my name is Olivia. I am perfectly able to communicate and respond to emergencies instantly." The phone spoke the sentence clearly. The supervisor's eyebrows lifted, surprised, almost impressed. Mr. Bennett looked at Olivia like he was seeing her strength in a brand new way. But Claire? She looked furious, like control was slipping away and she hated it. The supervisor finally exhaled. Well, based on what I've seen, there is no official violation. She can stay. Emma threw her arms around Olivia's neck. Mr. Bennett smiled softly, relieved. Claire? She stormed out, heels echoing across the hall like warning shots. But Olivia? She stood tall. Not just a nanny, not a mute girl, not someone people could dismiss. She was finally being seen. After the agency supervisor left, the house felt strangely quiet. Not the uncomfortable kind of quiet, but the kind that feels like something important just shifted. Emma stayed glued to Olivia's side, refusing to let go of her hand, almost like she feared someone might try to take her away again. Olivia gently brushed the little girl's hair back, her touch soft and steady, reassuring without needing a single spoken word. Mr. Bennett stayed nearby as well, watching Olivia with an expression that held a mix of respect, curiosity, and something deeper, something he wasn't ready to put into words. Meanwhile, somewhere upstairs, doors slammed, followed by muffled, angry pacing. Mrs. Bennett wasn't handling losing control very well. The next morning, Olivia arrived in the kitchen early as always, preparing breakfast, packing Emma's lunch, and making sure everything was neat and ready. But this time, something was different. Mr. Bennett was already sitting at the dining table, staring at his laptop, except he wasn't typing. He was waiting. When Olivia placed Emma's pancakes on the counter, he finally spoke. I want to ask you something. She paused and looked at him, attentive. He continued, voice sincere. Why did you decide to become a nanny? You're clearly educated. You communicate beautifully. You're patient, organized, and honestly... He hesitated, then exhaled. You have more emotional intelligence than most people I know. Olivia wasn't expecting that question, or that compliment. Slowly, she sat across from him and began signing. Before I lost my voice, I wanted to be a teacher. He nodded, listening closely. But after the accident, everything changed. People looked at me differently. School turned complicated. Doors closed. Jobs rejected me. Her gestures slowed, heavier. Children were the only ones who never judged. They didn't care if I talked. They cared if I cared. Mr. Bennett's expression softened. That makes you more qualified than half the people out there. Before either of them could say anything else, Emma ran downstairs in her sparkly shoes, yelling, Liv, guess what? I made you a picture. She handed Olivia a crayon drawing. It showed 3 figures, a little girl, a tall man, and a woman with a little speech bubble drawn in hearts, not words. Underneath, Emma wrote, Family. Olivia blinked fast, trying not to show how deeply that one word hit her. Mr. Bennett noticed. Later that afternoon, when the house was quiet and Emma was napping, Claire finally approached Olivia, and it wasn't with sarcasm or superiority. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You know, she began, voice low, I didn't hate you because you couldn't speak. Olivia looked up, waiting. Claire swallowed, almost like it hurt to admit anything vulnerable. I hated how easily my daughter chose you. Olivia's breath stalled. Claire continued. She listens to you. She trusts you. She loves you, and I don't know how to compete with that. For the first time, Claire didn't sound like a villain. She sounded like someone scared of being replaced. Olivia signed softly. You're her mother. I'm not competition. Claire blinked, stunned by the gentleness she didn't deserve. Then Olivia added another sign. Children don't need perfection. They need patience. Claire looked down, and for a brief second, she seemed human. But insecurity is a stubborn thing, she whispered. I don't know if I can be the mother she deserves. Olivia signed one last sentence. You can, if you start listening. Claire didn't respond, but the words sank somewhere deep. She quietly walked away. That night, after the house fell silent, Olivia stepped outside into the backyard. Crickets hummed softly, and the sky stretched above her in calm darkness. She closed her eyes and breathed. Not because she was broken, but because healing takes space. The sliding door opened, and footsteps approached slowly. It was Mr. Bennett. He stood beside her, hands in his pockets, looking up at the same sky. "You know," he said quietly, "before you came, this house looked perfect on the outside, but inside, everything felt disconnected." Olivia looked over, curious. "But you changed that?" he added. Not with words, but with presence. A soft breeze moved between them. Then he said something she never expected. "If you ever want something more than just working here, teaching, studying, building something of your own, I'd like to help. Not because you need saving, but because you deserve opportunity." Olivia felt something warm and unfamiliar unfurl inside her. Not pity, not charity, but respect and possibility. She signed one slow, meaningful phrase. "You see me? Not my silence." He met her eyes. "I always have." For the first time in a long time, Olivia smiled fully, without holding anything back. Not because someone validated her, but because she finally belonged somewhere she didn't have to defend her existence. Not mute, not fragile, not less. Just Olivia. A woman with strength quieter than thunder, but powerful enough to reshape every life she touched. The end.